Hello and welcome to the shop. I have made a couple of videos in the past about making your own homemade non-stick bushings for finishing pins with CA glue. Those bushings were all designed to be used with a mandrel. Today, this morning, I was turning a pin. I wanted to finish it. It was between centers, and I came up with an idea for a turn between centers non-stick bushing. And we're going to give it a test. First thing I did was grab a little piece of UHMW. We're going to take this over to the lathe, and we're going to see if we can turn a set of turn between center non-stick bushings. I've got a couple different things going on here. First off, I've got my pin jaws in my chuck gripping a rod of UHMW. That's the headstock. And in the tailstock, I have my Jacobs chuck holding a starter bit. Now these starter bits, you'll notice how sharp this angle is. That's 60 degrees. That's the same angle as my live center and my dead center. So when I drill into this blank, I'm going to end up leaving, depending on how deep I drill, but a 60-degree conical shape in the end of this blank. And that's how we're going to start today. I brought my dead center over to the lathe, and I'm just going to check and make sure it seats nicely, and it does. I don't see any gaps around it, so I'm comfortable that I've got a nice 60-degree conical shape in the end of the blank. I've got my starter bit. I'm going to stick it back inside of the blank. I'm going to mark it with my finger. Then we're going to flip it over, and we will mark it like this. It's pretty obvious what that mark signifies. It signifies the depth that starter bit went into the blank. So what I want to do is make sure that I come out here a little farther than that, because we are going to turn this into a conical shape, something that will turn far enough down to be able to accept or insert itself into a 7mm tube. The first thing I need to do is true the blank up. Our blank is true. So the next step in the process is let's start turning a slow sweeping cone to the point where we can part it off at the point down here where we stopped truing. Here's the bushing that we just turned, and I can tell you from experience that you want to keep a close eye on these because they have a lot of velocity when they come off that lathe, and you'd be amazed where this thing ended up. But you can see I've got the 60-degree cone in the back end, which fits nicely onto my dead center. And then I've got a cone on the front end, which fits nicely into a 7mm tube. So I should be able to grip this 7mm blank that's ready to be finished, or pretty much any other blank that I might want to turn in my shop. Let's turn our attention to making a second one of these, and we'll give them a quick test. I got my second non-stick bushing turned. I got a little more aggressive with this one on the truing and ended up taking away a little more material than I needed to. Not going to hurt anything. The main thing is the point down here at the end, because that is what is going to fit into the end of our blank for finishing. With our blank mounted in the turn between center non-stick bushings, we can now apply our finish. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Those of you who turn between centers right now are either having to put your blanks on a mandrel to use non-stick bushings, or you're having to go ahead and put the CA finish on your blanks with the turning bushings. And that's not a great idea, because what it does, that CA builds up on those bushings, and then your bushings are not true diameter of your components. So it's best if you just use those for turning and sanding and use something like this for finishing. And these are super nice. There's nothing fancy about them. They're not beautiful. They don't have to be. They're made out of UHMW. They've got a point that goes all the way down. No hole in these. Now, if you were to put a 1/4-inch hole in these, you could pop these right on your mandrel. But these are great between centers. And this is going to make pin finishing so much easier for me when I turn between centers. I'd like to thank you for joining me in the shop today. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon, and have a great evening.